and welcome to another Putrid Ramblings. I thought let's make another little ramblings video, talk about some updates on projects I'm working on and updates for the channel. First I would like to talk about the channel itself. Now I took a little break the last 2 months of the last year, and that was a well-deserved hobby break. Really needed that to basically recharge my motivation and creativity to work on new projects. And now I'm back in full swing with some new lessons that I've learned. Basically what I used to do is focus on one project and just go until it's finished. So I started my Iron Jaws and I would just keep going until the whole army was done before jumping onto another one. When I got back I did things a little differently. Now I'm just doing small things in my projects and I keep jumping from project to project to keep things interesting and to keep myself motivated. For me that seems to work quite well. So I do something for Warhammer, then I do something for Moonstone, I do something for Trench Crusade, and I just keep jumping from project to project. It's very manageable, it's a different way of working, and it seems to work for me quite well. I also made some changes behind the scenes on the way that I'm working and editing my videos. Now I've been a user of the Adobe products for a very long time. Actually since 1996 I've been using Photoshop and Premiere, After Effects. I worked on it, I work with it professionally, and I've also used it for the channel. But it got really expensive because there's a very big monthly subscription nowadays, and to be honest the software was just getting very bloated, very unreliable, and it didn't work that great. After Effects could just crash at any moment, so I was constantly saving. Premiere worked okay as far as an editing software goes. Photoshop also was extremely bloated to the point that I could not even draw in Photoshop anymore because I would just make a line, had to wait a couple of seconds for the line to actually appear. I couldn't work with that anymore. So I decided in my little break last year to look for alternatives, and I actually found all the alternatives I need. Now this is going to be a little bit of talk about these types of programs, so if you are not interested in that, do skip to the hobby stuff, but I would just like to talk a little bit about the software that I use. So for drawing I switched to Clip Studio Paint, which is software which is specifically made for drawing and drawing comics, and it took a while to learn, to navigate my way and to create a workflow there, but it's a really nice program. It is I think a yearly subscription, but it's only like a couple of bucks. There's a whole community where you can get mods and assets, preferences, all that stuff. It works really nice. There's tons and tons of brushes, so I'm really happy with switching from Photoshop to Clip Studio Paint. So if you are drawing, I can definitely recommend this software. Now for photo editing, I switched to Photo Affinity, which basically is the same as Photoshop, except it's not Adobe. It works a little differently, so there was also like a small learning curve as well, but yeah, it does all the things Photoshop does just fine. And I don't do a lot of high-end photo editing anymore, especially for the photos that I put out on Instagram. I throw on a curve to adjust the highlights and shadows just a little bit for readability, and other than that I try to make the photo as good as it is from the get-go, which basically means proper lighting and dropping your exposure on, well, I'm actually using my phone for photography, which works just fine. But Affinity works fine. Also a great alternative to Photoshop. Now for video editing, I was using Premiere and After Effects. Now After Effects is a bit of a unique program, so I did not know if there was an alternative, but I found the DaVinci Resolve, which basically is Premiere and After Effects and Media Encoder all rolled into one. It's a very different way of working. So far, it took a while for me to get a nice workflow in DaVinci Resolve, but now I've got most of the paint tags that I use in my videos are all up in DaVinci I also made my edits a bit more minimal. I don't have like transition effects with every shot anymore. It's all just a little bit more plain, but hopefully a lot more readable for people. I made a nice simple graphic if I want to, if I want to show what I'm painting. All in all, it's a lot more simple. It's easy to work with, and I'm actually very happy. And the best part is DaVinci Resolve is free. So there's a paid version, which I haven't really looked into what you can actually do with the paid version, but all the things that I want to do for a painting tutorial, I can easily do in the free version of Resolve. And there's a lot of stuff on YouTube if you want to learn that program, or you want to know a very specific thing. I'm really happy with not using Adobe products anymore. They really have a chokehold on things. Just getting out of this subscription is, there's a fine you have to pay. It's all very expensive, and I don't mind paying for an expensive product as long as the product is good. And Adobe has not been good for a long time. It took me a long time to realize that, because I was very used to the software and I was not really looking for learning new software. Stick with what you know. But sometimes it's very good. I'm happy I did it. And I'll try to keep improving stuff like that. For voiceover recordings, I'm actually using Audacity, which is the most simple free software available, but it works really well. I can just record my audio, I can tweak it a little bit to make it sound good, and just load it into Resolve. I've got all these separate programs now, alternatives to Adobe, and I should have done this years ago. Really, really, really should have done that. So yeah, that's a little update on the stuff behind the scenes that I've been using and changing some stuff around. So yeah, hobby-wise, I've been jumping a little bit from project to project. Moonstone is perfect for that because you don't need a lot to play a game. So I've just been painting like the little boxes, which usually have 3 miniatures. I've been painting those. And yeah, it's just so fun to paint because it's just so different. Every model is its own thing. I've been trying to get into the Shades of Moonreach. I now have a full troop, as it's called. And I've been learning that faction, and it's difficult because it's a whole new way of playing, and also Moonstone is a whole new way of playing. I'm still in that warhammer mindset that you have to like kill your opponent and stuff like that, but the main focus is actually getting those moonstones and either run away or protect them or stuff like that. And it's there's a learning curve there as well. And the Shades of Moonreach, they use their little cycle pumps, so you got your 6 characters and they can summon all these little critters who all have their own benefits. And I have found that, they die very quickly, and usually that's a good thing because that triggers other benefits. So I'm learning the game, having fun painting the Shades of Moonreach models. Other than that, a Trench Crusade, I've made a video for the black grill, like the warband itself. I still have to paint the reinforcements. I do find that if I'm not actually playing a game, it is difficult for me to actively paint those models. So I will definitely paint the reinforcements soonish. Trench Crusade, I'm not playing at all at the moment because there's not a lot of people that play it. So, when I'm actually in the mood to paint them, I will paint them. But other than that, Age of Sigmar, I'm working on my Iron Jaws. I'm actually started working on my Maw Crusher, who is actually standing on a literal volcano. Here's a little preview photo of that. I think it's gonna be quite a while to paint that up. I'm still thinking about the color choices for the Maw Crusher itself, because it will be lighted up from the lava, so it's going to be quite red on the bottom. So I want a contrasting color on top, and I don't want it green as well because the orc is already green. So I'm still looking a little bit what can I do with the Maw Crusher, and I got some other stuff to paint for the Iron Jaws, which are definitely coming as well. And 40k, I have not played 40k in quite a bit, but I actually started a new army. I wasn't gonna, I wasn't gonna start a new army, but I got really excited about actually a thing that I've been excited about for a very long time. I even have the book, the Black Templars, and this is from 2005. So it's 4th or 5th edition. I bought this book because as Space Marines go, I'm not the biggest Space Marines fan, but if I had to pick a faction that I like, it is the Black Templars, because they're like the the overzealous crusading Marines, which I think all Space Marines should be like that, but nowadays there's been a little shift. But I really got into it. I'm not a big fan of the Primaris range. It looks very sleek. Now I do like the proportions. The proportions of the Space Marines are way better than the old stubby ones. But it looks very sleek. But that's why I have a 3D printer. So what I did mostly is print old Firstborn helmets for my Primaris Marines. Now I do have them lying around from previous older projects, but I found a couple that actually have the Maltese cross on the helmets and stuff. So I printed all these cool heads. I printed these old Mark II, Mark III shoulder pads, which also have the Maltese cross on them, just to make them look a little bit more bulky, as I would think a Space Marine should look. Because I want them to look over the top 40k. I want them to have candles on their backpacks, long purity seals, old classic Firstborn heads, and just stuff like that. Pretty soon, I'm going to start painting some Black Templars. Now, I am waiting for my John Blanche Army Painter boxes, which should come by the end of this week. And I want to use a lot of paints from that set. Now, I'm not literally only going to use those sets because that will limit me way too much, but I just want to, because if you think Black Templars, you think about this image, which is primo 40k, which is great, and that will be my big inspiration for the army. So yeah, the new army is coming, the Iron Jaws, Trench Crusade, Moonstone, all those stuff I am working on at the moment. So yeah, that was my little update. Definitely let me know if you have any comments about anything or questions. I always look at my comments, always reply. I just want to say thanks everyone for watching, and I'll see you in the next one.